Hola a todos, me llamo Chris Haughton y George aquí. Um, I hope you enjoy my new book, No tengas miedo, cangrejita. See you soon. I think he's doing well. Yeah, he's enjoying the food in Mexico.
Okay.
He's putting on some weight here. Yeah, well, I mean, I'm so surprised. My books have done very well in the non-English speaking world. I guess a lot of the stories are sort of done through the pictures, so they translate easily. So yeah, I was very surprised when the books first started coming out, and then they became popular first in the Netherlands. Bought them, and yeah, just went kind of from there. It's been fantastic, kind of. So I've been very lucky and have managed to sort of travel around and visit book fairs around the world. It was actually Un poco perdido was the first one. Yeah. So yeah, Un poco perdido was I was working on the story and the colors were quite normal, and then I went to Mexico. I stayed in Chiapas in San Cristobal de las Casas, and suddenly the colors went crazy. And yeah, really, that's one of the things that. So I'm very grateful to Mexico for the crazy colors here. um, Usually, it's I kind of have an idea just with two images. It's kind of and it's usually a sort of before and after image. So with George, it's sort of him looking at the cake, and then you turn the page and he's eating the cake. So it's kind of a pantomime moment where what's going to happen, and then uh, the thing happens. So, and with the cangrejita, it's kind of seeing the big wave, and then oh, what's going to happen, and you turn the page, and they get splashed by the wave. So it's kind of a, a dramatic moment. So it always starts with a sort of dramatic moment of two images together. Well, I mean, it is very much like a song, or like a you know, I, but I think the simplest stories, it's like what kind of when you tell a joke. Usually a lot of jokes have this. It's called the rule of three. This happens, and then this happens, and then the stupid one does this, or whatever it is. And these are the sort of stories that they're very easy to remember, and they're very easy to connect with, because even if you miss some part of the first part, then by the second time it's repeated, you get it, and then by the third time it becomes funny. So it's this. It just helps sort of the comprehension, the understanding. Yeah. Well. What's coming next? I'm doing a book about three monkeys, and it's a little bit like George. Actually, they're a little bit naughty, yeah, and then they do the thing that they're not supposed to do, and it goes very badly for them. And yeah, there's three of them, so it's even worse than him. Yeah, yeah, and they're kind of all legs and arms, so it's kind of and tails. Yeah, yeah. So it's just it's very fun turning the pages because they're going all over the place. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it really depends. Each one is inspired by something different. We have a plan. It's kind of it's a little bit inspired by. Do you remember Roadrunner, the cartoon? So I love that idea of this sort of, okay, you know, I've got a plan. This is gonna go. You're like, is this gonna work? Um, and what I wanted with that one was, on one page they're almost about to catch the bird. I mean, just like inches away, and then you turn the page and it's completely gone wrong, and they've, fallen out of a tree, or and the bird is just, without even looking, is just flying up. Yeah. So that was just that initial image I had in my mind. Oh, that would be very funny. And it depends for each one. That Kangarhita was at the sea, huge waves, and I was watching these crabs reacting with the waves, and holding on. And I just thought that would be a funny, just that moment of the waves coming. So they're all going along, and then they all stop. Do you know what I mean? Just, you hear the wave, and then, and then they sort of crouch down. The little eyes go down, and then, yeah. Well, actually, I was surprised after the first book. My publisher then said, "Okay, we're going to promote your book. You have to do events with children." And I was like, "Oh, really?" And then, because I thought you just do a book and it goes in the bookshop and it sells. But anyway, so then, so I had like an hour to entertain children, and I was like, I've never done that before. So, and you can read the book in about 2 minutes. Yeah. So I was like, what am I going to do for the rest of the hour? So then I had bits and pieces of sort of ideas that I thought would be fun to show the children, and that actually was a really helpful thing, because I showed them bits and pieces of George, and then you could see what they were reacting to and what they weren't reacting to so much, and I do that almost all the time now. If I'm doing a presentation to children, usually I show my work in progress, and they like to see the work in progress, and I can see what works and what doesn't, because nothing tells you better than a room full of children. If there's a instant laugh, or if there's just silence, then yeah, you're like, or they start walking off. You're like, oh, yeah. Well, there's lots of, I think, for simplicity, there's a artist, Leo Leone, and Eric Carle. I think they're just classic books, and really, and Maurice Sendak, and then working today, I'm a big fan of Beatrice Alemania and Planeta Tangerina. Yara Kono is here, gave a talk yesterday, and John Klassen is he did the I Want My Hat Back, and those, yeah. There's so many, but yeah, like I guess I like books that are a bit more like a lot of the children's books, they're quite sweet, and I think the children react better with the sort of ones that aren't so sweet. Do you know what I mean? Like it's often the ones that are sweet, it's more you're talking to the adults, because they're like, oh, my little, whereas I think the children themselves are sort of, oh, let's have a slightly naughty story, I mean. Yeah. It needs a sort of a sweetness too, and it's as my editor Deirdre always says, it's kind of like this. You're aiming for this kind of emotional honesty. If you sort of fake it and sort of make it too sweet, then you're like, nobody's gonna react like that. But if you sort of portray it realistically, like um, you know, they're going to be naughty here, but they do regret it later, or you know they they want a hug at the end or whatever. Then that's kind of it resonates because there's a sort of emotional honesty to it. So, but it's with such a tight amount of words and pictures, it is quite difficult to sort of make it not contrived to make it kind of believable. Um, it is, yeah. No, I mean, you wouldn't believe it's a deceptively difficult. Every time I make a new book, I'm like, oh my god, how this is so hard. And they take 2 years to write. From start to finish, usually, or they have. That's how long it takes me. And yeah, when I finish it, then I'm like, how did that take so long? Like, I look at it and I go, God, I could have done that in a few weeks. What was I doing? And then you start looking back at all of the dead ends that I went down, and oh yeah, I spent months trying to work with this ending, or spent months trying to do this with this character, and it wasn't working. So it is very much like a puzzle, yeah. And sometimes it doesn't quite work, and you have to kind of go, okay, I'm going to put that aside now and think of something else. It's quite difficult, yeah. Yeah, well, I've tried now to. It was after the first book, I didn't have a second idea, and then I was left trying to do like have an idea, with a sort of deadline looming over me, which was kind of scary. Now I always try and have an idea ready, so when I finish the book, then the pressure is off a little bit.